The Valkyries' win against the Lynx solidified them as a serious title contender.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm Sophia Jones, radio color analyst for the Portland Fire. Today, I'll be discussing DeWanna Bonner being a free agent right now, so we'll see what potential team she might land on, as well as Team USA's biggest competition, because Team France, Les Bleus, just announced their roster, or at least what WNBA players will be competing for their team during the FIBA World Cup, and it's looking pretty stacked. But first, we're going to start with some significant and historic wins that happened yesterday in the WNBA. The first one is going to be the Golden State Valkyries beating the Minnesota Lynx in Minnesota 80-66. Golden State finally got the win versus the Minnesota Lynx in their almost 2 years of existence for their as an expansion team. They have never beaten the Minnesota Lynx in a game. They entered it 0-9 all time. This includes regular season and the 2 games in the playoffs last year. So Valkyries finally able to steal one against the Lynx in Minnesota nonetheless. So definitely a significant win for the Valkyries, who right now are second in league standings and really trying to cement themselves as serious title contenders because they are a part of the upper tier of standings. And with this win against the Lynx, it definitely helps to put more teams in the entire league on notice that they are here to stay. The Valkyries were led in scoring by Cecilia Zanelazini, a former member of the Minnesota Lynx, who was actually claimed during the expansion draft last year. So big night for Ceci. She had 18 points. 8 of them came in the fourth quarter, very decisive fourth quarter to hold off the Minnesota Lynx. Gabby Williams in this game also had 15 points for the Golden State Valkyries. And Valkyries, they had 5 players in double figure scoring. However, it was really their defense that did it this game. Every single time there was a Minnesota Lynx drive to the paint, they were just swarming. It was help scramble, and they were staying with them the entire time. You definitely felt the intensity from the Golden State Valkyries that game and really wanting to make every single Minnesota Lynx shot as difficult as possible. That really seemed like the game plan by Coach Nneka. And another part of that game plan was showing so many bodies towards Napheesa Collier anytime she caught the ball in the paint. And Fee only had 9 points this game. She was 4 of 10, also had 7 rebounds, but that 4 of 10 is significant because it's an okay shooting percentage, but only 10 shots for Fee is a bit on the lower end. And it was the Valkyries defense that made everything just incredibly difficult for her. It was just a swarm the entire time in the half court. Anytime Fee caught the ball in the interior, she saw minimum 3 Valkyries jerseys right there. So Minnesota Lynx taking a bit of a stumble after dropping this one. And in this game, they only shot 36%, only 33% from 3, which 33, not bad also, but for a team that also does like to be a balanced scoring attack in the perimeter, on the perimeter, and in the interior, it just was not balanced. The Golden State really dominated the paint aspect of this game. The Lynx were led in scoring by Natasha Howard, who had 13 points. Kayla McBride also added 12 points, but no one else scored double figures. And looking at some of the other bigger players or main scorers for the Lynx, you have Olivia Miles, who's held to only 8 points. You have, again, Napheesa Collier, 9 points. And then even for Kayla McBride, who only finished with 12 points. Now, in this game, Courtney Williams was out due to a right foot injury. So that definitely played a little bit of a part when you're looking at how does the Lynx really get continuous offense and have some more backcourt defense going. But nonetheless, the Valkyries really just grinded this win out and really were able to flip the game on its head and just make it as ugly as possible for the Minnesota Lynx, who also finished with 18 turnovers compared to Valkyries only 9 turnovers. And with this win, like I said, in the Valkyries' existence, the Lynx are the only team that they have not beaten. So by getting this win, it really just signifies that that 5-year plan that owner Joe Lacob wanted when he first got the team to win a championship, it really could be expedited to do because they are just playing some incredible basketball right now. But another team that is also playing incredible basketball right now, and one specific player especially, is the Atlanta Dream and Angel Reese. The Dream won against the Sparks 78-71, but this was the Angel Reese game. She was the one that dominated the headlines because she grabbed a WNBA record 26 rebounds in the game, breaking Shamik Holdsclaw previous single game record of 24 from 2003. So a really long-standing record that Angel Reese broke last game, and she also broke the WNBA single season rebounding record, reaching 458 for the year. And this is especially impressive when you think of that there is still a good bit of games left in the season for the Atlanta Dream and Angel Reese, so she could really break another or win the record that she does set. It could really be standing there for a while unless she decides to break it in another year or two because she's just that dominant on the boards. But for the overall game, it was really, I mean, for both the Dream and the Sparks, it was definitely more of a low scoring effort. Dream won 78-71. So, not the usual numbers you're used to seeing both teams put up. But when a player like Angel Reese is able to get 26 rebounds, sometimes that does signify that there are some missed shots around. And for the Sparks, they only shot 39% and also 17% from three. So, they had their struggles. As for the Dream, they kind of did have their own struggles as well, only shooting 40% and shooting 21% from three. But in scoring, they were led by Alicia Gray, who finished with 20 points. Ryan Howard also had 18 points in that effort. Naz Hillman, 12, and Angel Reese, 11. So a pretty compact, I guess, scoring effort for the Atlanta Dream. Whereas you look at the Los Angeles Sparks, and it's going to be a headline anytime Nneka Ogwumike plays another team for the very last time this season. But Madam President finished with 27 points, 16 rebounds, 11 of 19 from the field, also 5 of 5 from the free throw line. A stat line that makes you really question why she wants to retire at this time, because that does not give. This is going to be my last year in the WNBA. But Nneka Ogwumike, of course, leading the way for the Los Angeles Sparks. And she shared a really touching moment with Angel Reese after the game. Looks like they had a little bit of a heart-to-heart after the teams gathered after the buzzer right around midcourt, and it looked like she had a couple words of advice to Angel Reese. And when Madam President is talking, of course you got to listen. So really special moment between those two, almost maybe a little bit of a passing of the torch when you're looking at two double performances last night. But another significant performance for the Sparks as well that I want to make sure I highlight is Cameron Brink, because off the bench, she had 15 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 blocks. Now, Cameron Brink is someone that has always really been known for her rim protection and that shot blocking ability. And so with that, with 5 blocks against a team that likes to play in the interior a lot, it's good to see the revival of that. And especially when you're looking at the Sparks and how they're going to be moving away from Nneka Ogwumike this up after this season, and they don't have as many youthful players as they did last year. Cameron Brink is someone that you definitely want to center yourselves around and make sure you can continue to grow her and grow the team around her. And so to see moments like she had last game where she's putting together a pretty complete scoring night and pretty complete two-way game, it was definitely positive for the Sparks to see that. But like I said, the headlines for this game was dominated by Angel Reese in that 26 rebound performance. I mean, again, credit to Atlanta Dream's defense, because you had to have a lot of boards, a lot of shots coming off the rim to even get those rebounds in the first place. She had 18 defensive rebounds alone and 8 offensive rebounds. She was just totally all over the floor. When you look at the way that whenever there's a shot going up, offense or defense, whoever is Angel Reese's matchup, their job is to literally only box out her. They're trying to push her either out of bounds or as far away from the path of the ball coming off the rim as possible. They're not even worried about getting the rebounds themselves. They're just worried about Angel Reese getting the rebound. And to have that kind of significance and to change the way that players and teams play you that much is really impressive, especially for a player so young in her career. So she is definitely on a trajectory to become the most dominant rebounder of all time. But that is a little bit into WNBA, but we got some world basketball discussion coming up in this next segment. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all in one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent, it's about having everyone working towards the same goal. And that's true in sports just like it is in business. Speaking more to the Atlanta Dream and Angel Reese, having that offseason trade definitely proved to be a move that is paying its dividends very much. And you're seeing it reflected in the Dream's record, breaking records and winning games. But one thing that really stands out is how this organization got everyone pulling in the same direction with this Angel Reese acquisition. It wasn't just one great player or coach, it was coordinated effort across the entire organization that made it successful. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/locked on. That's odoo.com/locked on. Time to get into the team that is looking like it's stacking up to be Team USA's biggest competition in this FIBA World Cup coming up in Berlin in a short amount of time, just about a little over a week. You'll see a lot of players going over there. Some have already began, but the French World Cup squad is starting to come together more and more. The WNBA players who will be in Berlin for the French national team are going to be Gabby Williams, Maureen Johannes, Dominique Malonga, Pauline Astier, Carla Late, Layla Lacan, Janelle Salon, and Valeriane Ayayi. So a pretty stacked squad. And if you remember last or 2 years ago, sorry, at the 2024 Paris Olympics, where it was Gabby Williams being like a centimeter on the 3-point line that led to France not being able to force overtime and Team USA winning the gold medal. So this is a squad that is going to definitely be hungry for a little bit of revenge, especially because they lost that game in France on their home soil. But this is a team that also, when you look at it, they pushed USA to the very edge and they were almost able to get that game for themselves. Gabby Williams almost forced overtime, but they just came just so close. So I'm sure that's in their mind. I'm also sure it's in Team USA's mind. And just reiterating and taking a look back at Team USA's roster, we have Aaliyah Boston, Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark, Nafisa Collier, Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray, Ryan Howard, Kelsey Plum, Angel Reese, Brianna Stewart, Asia Wilson, and Jackie Young. So pretty stacked squads on both ends. And this Team USA is a little bit different. It's a different group that's going to be headed to Berlin to compete. It's also going to be a bit of a different French group that's going to be competing as well. I think when you look at the cornerstone of Gabby Williams, she's always one of the players that really turns up when she's playing for her national team. She's been doing a phenomenal job this season in the WNBA, really kind of taking into or growing into that primary scoring option for the Golden State Valkyries while also being a really tenacious defender. So Gabby Williams, you're definitely looking at her to be one of the leaders for that French squad. I think even despite her age, you also look at a player like Dominique Malonga and how much she can contribute, because looking at, or just with the Seattle Storm this year, they were a pretty early team to get eliminated from playoff contention. They have one of the worst records in the WNBA as well. But I don't think that should diminish what Dominique Malonga has been able to do this season. And for people that maybe haven't been tuning into the Storm or on a little bit of a East Coast media bias, we will say Dominique Malonga is averaging 17 points and just about 9 rebounds per game, which is, I mean, that's a pretty solid stat line when you ask me. And at only 20 years old, she not only is going to be a huge cornerstone of the team France, well, yeah, the French national team for a while, but she could honestly provide some really big minutes this game. And I think, or in this tournament. And when you're looking at matchups for Team France against Team USA, you're going to need to compete against some interior size and a competitor like Asia Wilson. And even looking at Dom's playoff series last year when the Storm faced the Aces, she came onto the scene pretty strong. So maybe it's time for her to continue or to contribute to the redemption arc of Team France. But another player I am, of course, going to have to hype up is Carla Late, a member of the Portland Fire this year. She has really taken a leap in not only her scoring, but also her facilitating. And having a player like her as one of the options at point guard, because you have so many fantastic scorers around you, she has done a tremendous job facilitating recently. Just looking at the last game that the Portland Fire played, she had 27 points and 10 assists. So another 20-point, 10 assists double double. She's had a couple of those this season that maybe not, again, people should be paying attention to. So that's something that will definitely be on display for this tournament. And Janelle Salon is someone that maybe going a bit more under the radar as well, which I've really truly hope not anymore, because last year she made it to first team all rookie in the WNBA. And this season she is definitely the front runner for sixth player of the year. And even going back to the FIBA World Cup qualifiers, where they had different locations of them. So you had Team USA in Puerto Rico, Team France was also in Europe, but Janelle Salon was MVP of that section and for Team France. So she's going to be definitely another player that, very young, is going to want to get some of that revenge. But I would be remiss if I had not mentioned another young player who unfortunately suffered an injury, and that's going to have to be Alicia Tornabes. Tornabes left the preparation of the French women's team for this World Cup, where she was hit with a finger in training. Alicia Tornabes, member of the South Carolina Gamecocks, of course, she joined them mid-season last year, provides some solid minutes, but another just very young player that I know South Carolina fans are probably really excited about to see her continue to grow. But she is going to be it was confirmed that she is going to have an unavailability for several weeks. So unfortunately, a bit of a setback for Alicia Tornabes there, and someone who maybe wasn't going to play on the Team France roster this season, but with a couple years to come, she's definitely going to be another one that's there. Another just long, lanky player that can dunk, because I don't know what they're doing in France, but her and Dominique Malonga kind of have that similar archetype, and she's definitely going to be someone very fun to watch. But looking at some of the bracket and how this is going to play out, you have Team France, who is in Group B. They're in Group B with Hungary, Korea, and Nigeria. So if they do end up winning their group, which it does look like they're the front runners, then the bracket is structured that they would face Team USA if Team USA is number one in their group, which I feel like most people could, anticipate happening. USA is in the group with Czechia, Italy, and China. Also a really fun group to watch. I'm very excited for all these competitions going on. So Group B is where you have France. Group D is where you have Team USA. Also going through the rest of the groups, you have Group C with Belgium, Australia, Puerto Rico, and Turkey, and Group A with Japan, Spain, Germany, and Mali. So pretty gonna be some really great basketball coming up. But if you're looking at some of the heavyweights, it's looking like a Team France and Team USA are going to be on that collision course. I also don't sleep too much on Spain. They got some heavy hitters too. And for a team like Belgium, who consistently does really well in European basketball tournaments, there are someone that you don't want to underestimate there in their group on that side. So the FIBA World Cup coming up in Berlin, Germany, going to be really, really exciting. But we know what French players in the WNBA are joining their national team. But one free agent in the WNBA that is floating around that maybe people saw or didn't see coming is DeWanna Bonner. So, why is she a free agent right now, and what teams might she land on? Will be some questions I'm going to be getting into. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. I've actually never been to a baseball MLB game before, and I live pretty close to Oracle Park in San Francisco. And every time I see a bunch of people walking by in their Giants jerseys, I'm like, maybe this is the year that I'll get to the MLB game. And because I don't have much knowledge, but I do know what a home run is, as I'm sure everyone is. And if you want to get in on the action, you can use that knowledge to play FanDuel. So, are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at fanduel.com. That's fanduel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of the MLB. Okay, so DeWanna Bonner and the Phoenix Mercury have seeked an agreement to buy out her contract. The team had announced yesterday, so Monday, August 24th. So this moves Bonner to be, like I said, essentially a bit of a free agent, if you will. And the Phoenix Mercury, they announced that DeWanna Bonner has been an important part of our team and brought tremendous leadership, experience, and competitiveness to the Mercury. Their GM, Nick Urin, said in a statement, because of the relationship we have with DeWanna, we worked out a buyout agreement that gives her the opportunity to chase a title in what could be her final postseason. And so, according to DeWanna Bonner's agent, Mike Count, there were no issues with Phoenix that drove her to seek the buyout. He told ESPN that they were great. Many teams in the league wouldn't consider this this is a special circumstance, and Phoenix is a very player-friendly organization, so she's very appreciative of that. And this isn't a move I feel like you would see not many organizations do. So great, I guess, precedent that Phoenix sent to maybe, play a bit of a long game because they're officially eliminated from the playoffs this season. They know that there isn't really much room to do much the rest of this year. So release DeWanna Bonner or come to a buyout agreement. And also, it really drives home the point that Phoenix is a organization that players like to play for. You can negotiate these kinds of deals and transactions. So a bit maybe of a long game move for Phoenix, but DeWanna Bonner also said, at this stage in my career, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm grateful to the Mercury for giving me the opportunity to play what could be one of my final postseason opportunities. The fans, this community, and the Mercury organization have embraced me throughout my career, and I'll always be grateful for that. So DeWanna Bonner is on that backside of her career. She mentioned, Phoenix mentioned, her agent mentioned all that, they insinuated that this could be her last season in the W. And for a player who has as esteemed of a career as DeWanna Bonner, it makes sense that she wants to, go out on a little bit of a higher note and chase a ring, which is, I feel like, totally understandable. But some of the questions is what team could she potentially land on? Now, one of the teams that I think definitely could be a potential spot are the Las Vegas Aces. And looking especially at Nelissa Smith's injury the other day, it doesn't look like there's a timetable for return there. However, so they're already down a player. The Aces have consistently lacked a little bit of that depth. And DeWanna Bonner, a different profile than Nelissa Smith, but she's still, long, lanky, can play in the interior, actually be a little bit more of a perimeter player if you need her to also. But that would be someone that I think more than any other team, Las Vegas would really need her. However, the only thing that might not work out is that the combination of cap room, roster space, and the injury situation might not make Las Vegas too much of a contender to win the DeWanna Bonner sweepstakes. However, that just would be maybe a nice little thing if the cards are able to fall into the right place, because the aces could use a bit of a DeWanna Bonner. And when you're looking at who could be a championship favorite and who's going to make a deep run in the playoffs, the aces are always a team that you have to mention. But another team that could be a serious option is the Atlanta Dream. And I would say the Atlanta Dream right now are the front runner because they have the cap space to sign her. They are a championship contender, and they could use kind of a person of her profile where she's versatile, defense forward wing that could give you a little bit of size and some more depth, especially when you're looking at Bree Jones, also a player not really having a timetable for return. So you're looking to get a little bit of that size back. And the Dream, when they do struggle, you notice it in the fact that they lack some depth, and DeWanna Bonner would definitely help to add to that. Plus, the Dream have 190,000, about that number approximately, in a cap space to sign her. So they would be able to, again, afford her, which is going to be a big thing for a lot of these teams. So that's looking like, a very valid option. I also feel like you look at the way that Phoenix's social media team is and how they always really credit Angel Reese a lot. It almost feels like sometimes they really go out their way to highlight some of the Dream and specifically Angel Reese's success. So I don't know if there's much correlation there, but it does look like there is a bit of a pipeline in some form or another that could end up getting DeWanna, that where the Atlanta Dream could see the Mercury and the entire organization in their good favor. And same thing with DeWanna Bonner. So the Dream an option there. But another option would be the Minnesota Lynx. I think when you're looking at who the team is the favorite to win the title, is definitely the Lynx. And another team that kind of lacking in a little bit of depth when you do see some of their pitfalls, and looking at a player like Natasha Howard, who has really revived her career at the Minnesota Lynx. She has a bit of a similar profile to Bonner in terms of their longer, lankier centers or just post players in general. But Bonner would be a bit more perimeter, mid-range a base, whereas Natasha Howard is sitting in the paint and waiting up there. So could be a bit of an issue cap space wise, but if you're just going to go ahead and chase a ring, the Lynx is the team that you want to get on. But maybe in a bit of another way, you also have the New York Liberty as a team that is in contention for signing DeWanna Bonner. They do have the cap space, about $130,000. And with Satou Sabally being away from the team, she doesn't have an estimated timetable for return. That's someone that could definitely fill in that gap. Satou played with DeWanna last year at the Phoenix Mercury, so could be a little bit of a connection there. And Liberty, they won the Commissioner's Cup. It's hard to see them as a team just totally out of the title race. But that is going to do it for us today on Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you come back tomorrow to catch some more games, and maybe we'll see where DeWanna Bonner lands.